Hi, hello everyone. Jordan Reed here with a little bit of good news I want to share with you. 大家好，我叫 Jordan 伊文的，我要告诉你们很好的新闻哦。So basically, it goes like this. 我发布了第一漫画喔. I just published my first manga. Now, of course, it isn't like the best manga ever. In fact, it was made despite the fact I was doing lots of homework and tests and all kinds of transitions in my life. So it's just okay. But it was made from personal experience, and I don't have a copy yet. I'm going to get it in a few days. So just wanted to just share that that's going to be coming around. Anyone does want a copy, you might want to let me know in the comments below, because they're only selling copies for like a couple different days. So there's a very limited time in which you can purchase a copy. All the proceeds go to helping the university anime club. So all the purchases do go to actually helping the students here at my school. But it doesn't go like to some super charity event either. But just so you know. I don't know if I actually get any portion of the profits or anything. I don't think I actually get any of the money, but it does help the club that I'm in. So I want to keep producing. I want to keep creating more manga, despite this one not being that great. My next one that I want to do, 下一次我要做那个怎么说动 action. So the next one I want to make is like an action thing. So the idea that I want to propose is that I have for many years now, ever since 2017, I had this idea of what if there's a world, and back then this was like before everything that's just happened recently. What if there's a world where the United States and China, mostly over the South China Sea, were about to go to war until they were stopped from the rise of the Pacific Federation, which basically goes all the way from Hawaii, which secedes from the U.S. by brute force, savage brute force, all the way down to Indonesia and Malaysia and Singapore. Most countries within that belt end up falling part of the Federation, where they're kind of their own country, but also mostly their own thing. Well, I won't cover that actual story in this next year's manga that I want to produce. I do. That was my secretary of the club, not my editor, but that was the secretary of the club just messaging me, so I had to look at that. So they look like they're going to give a sample version, so I'm going to try to provide a sample version if you want it. 样品版本可以的给你们要看看试试看你们要不要买我的漫画 So anyway, so yeah, so if you want a sample version, 只要告诉我 just tell me and we'll see what we can do about that. Anyway, so yeah, this next version I want to do for next year or this year, 明年的我要那个 that 那个故事 I'm not going to translate that. Alright, so I want to do that. Anyway, so I'm not going to tell that story, but I want to tell a story of, a CIA operative named Armando, and he ends up getting involved with this, what he originally thought was something else. The CIA at the time was thinking that this was an entirely different thing, and he ends up seeing and witnessing the beginning of the Federation, and no one really gets there to do it. And whether or not his loyalty gets tested, whether or not he ends up remaining loyal to his cause or understanding the plight and cause of others. And so most nations within that belt that I described end up becoming their own federation, which is kind of more or less the European Union, but a little bit stronger, in the sense that they do have a shared military. They also have a shared economic system, but they still have a high degree of independence. So it's kind of like U.S. states in a way, but also kind of like just, being their own country, like the European Union kind of thing. Kind of like that. Just with greater sense of presence. And what ends up happening is that they end up inserting themselves into this war and completely taking the U.S. and Asia or U.S. and China a run for their money, and end up causing an entirely new bustling economy that ends up completely dominating the world. It just changes everything when the Polynesian, Oceania, and Southeast Asian nations just combine together very strongly and just decide to make it work. It ends up creating something very intense. Of course, some notable countries that aren't actually part of the alliance, such as Vietnam and Taiwan, also end up contributing to this story as very close allies. And of course, because all these UN member nations not only form a federation, but also have Taiwan as their ally, that also gives Taiwan a key legitimacy as kind of a real nation again, which in the story is going to mean a whole lot given everything that's going on and the fact that they already pissed off China by blocking their war. That just ends off like completely starting an entire thing. So it's basically going to have a Red Alert. If you ever heard of Command and Conquer, I kind of want to do a Red Alert 3 feel, except instead of having Japan, the Empire of the Rising Sun, being the surprising, out of nowhere combatant, it's going to be the Oceania, the Pacific Federation, playing that same role. Of course, U.S. is still going to be the U.S., and the Chinese will take the place of the Soviets in this kind of story. It's not based off of Red Alert at all. It's just going to have some of that kind of feel to it. But again, that's not the story I'm actually going to tell in this new one that I want to do this year. The actual story I want to tell is just one person's on-the-ground level perspective of seeing the beginnings of this, and then if things go well, then next year I want to actually start working on that project and actually bring it to life. And the main reason why I don't want to just start off with that is because something like that I want to treat very carefully, because I do have a whole lot of ideas for it. Like I basically, how most productions have a Bible, I kind of got that in my head that's been developing for quite many years now, that I haven't written down or put down to paper yet. For the most part, there's some things that actually have been written down, some story that's been shared. So there actually are some things, on record that I have for that story as part of that would go into the Bible, but I haven't put that there yet. In one comprehensive piece. So yeah, I just want to let that know that my first manga's out. This one's so what is this one about? This one's a love story about a guy who's new to his university and new to the country. And there's also a female love interest that is also in this country too, and they're from the same country, and they end up meeting each other and having classes together a lot, and they were friends, but they become more than friends. The problem is, this guy already has a girlfriend of many years, but there's a lot of issues with that situation there. At the end of the day, what he thought was just going to be a simple experience ends up being a very tough question for this particular character of who am I and who do I want to be? And really just having to figure that out, because for some people that's a tougher question than others. And for the main character here it is. So that's how that's going to go. Anyway, so unnamed fan base, I want to say bye. Oh, I guess I can't completely say unmanned fan base. I think it's going to, or unnamed, I say unmanned. That's yeah, I got a whole bunch of AI as my fans. Like, not like cheating the system, not like cheating the YouTube algorithm, but I mean like I just got straight up Terminator following me. No, anyway. No, I think I should name it, to be fair. I think I'm going to name it Francisco plus 11,000 people eventually. But right now we'll just say Francisco plus 11. Unless if he has multiple accounts, then I guess it's Francisco plus 3. Anyway, so that's the fan base. Francisco plus however many I end up having subscribers at the time. -1 because he counts. Oh, I think some of my other YouTube channels might be a subscriber, maybe not. No, I don't see I don't see my own notifications on them. So, anyway, so this is way too long. It should have been just 2 minutes, but anyway, I just wanted to describe that. So, I got my first manga published out, and yeah, that's it. Peace.